Dawn was just breaking over central Texas when federal agents stormed a climate controlled warehouse, boots echoing across concrete as they yanked open rolling doors and revealed towering rows of copper spools, millions of dollars in metal. While Ethan Walker stood in handcuffs watching everything he'd built get exposed, the copper wasn't ripped from power lines or stolen in the dark. It had been moved in broad daylight, loaded onto trucks, and driven away right under everyone's nose, all orchestrated by Ethan himself. 10 years earlier, Ethan pulled into the employee lot in a faded pickup, stepping out with a coffee and blending into the morning shift like just another forgettable manager. Inside the warehouse, forklifts buzzed past him carrying massive orange spools, each one worth more than his monthly paycheck, and Ethan's eyes followed every load as it moved. While others rushed through their shifts, Ethan slowed down, watching inventory move, memorizing patterns, noticing how easily things disappeared into trucks and out of sight. One rainy afternoon, long after everyone else had left, Ethan sat alone under flickering lights, scrolling through shipment logs when a costly delivery error flashed across his screen, thousands of dollars gone, no alarms, no chaos. He leaned forward, staring at the numbers, then slowly leaned back, realizing something bigger? If one shipment could vanish unnoticed, others could too. Weeks later, Ethan stood near the loading dock as a forklift operator rolled a single copper spool toward a waiting flatbed, rain dripping off the roof as Ethan gave a casual nod. The truck pulled away, tires crunching gravel, and Ethan watched it disappear down the road, knowing that load wasn't going where anyone thought it was. No calls came. No one ran into the warehouse asking questions. The next morning, everything moved like normal, and Ethan knew he had just gotten away with it. Soon, forklifts were moving more than just one spool at a time. 3, then 5, then entire loads each truck, leaving the yard heavier than it should have been. Ethan stood on the dock with his hands in his pockets, watching trailer after trailer roll out, engines roaring as they merged onto Texas highways carrying tens of thousands of dollars each. At home, Ethan's life started changing. New vehicles filled his driveway, contractors hammered away at renovations, and he stood in his garage at night staring at everything he'd built. While news reports showed thieves cutting copper lines in the dark, Ethan sat comfortably on his couch, flipping channels, knowing his operation was cleaner, quieter, and far more profitable. Back at work, he walked the warehouse floor like nothing had changed, greeting coworkers, checking shipments, and watching more copper disappear in plain sight. By the second year, trucks loaded with heavy-duty cable rolled out almost daily, and Ethan watched them go with growing confidence, convinced no one was paying attention. At the peak, Ethan leaned back in his office chair, feet up, completely relaxed. He wasn't sneaking around. He wasn't hiding. He was running the operation in the open. Then one night, as Ethan packed up to leave, a light stayed on down the hall. A new controller sat at a desk, flipping through invoices, pausing, circling numbers, flipping back again. Days turned into weeks as that same desk filled with highlighted pages, stacks of documents, and scribbled notes, forming a pattern Ethan couldn't see. Meanwhile, Ethan kept moving shipments standing on the dock, watching forklifts load copper, waving trucks out like always unaware the walls were closing in. Months later, Ethan sat in a conference room as investigators dropped stacks of evidence onto the table: invoices, shipping logs, phone records, each one tied to a truck he had watched leave. On a cool Texas morning, Ethan pulled into the parking lot like any other day, stepping out of his truck and heading toward the entrance. Before he could reach the door, agents moved in fast, calling his name as he froze, the routine finally breaking. Back at the warehouse, agents tore through the facility, opening doors, scanning inventory, and uncovering the massive gap left behind by years of shipments. As Ethan stood in cuffs watching it all unfold, every truck he had waved out, every load he had watched disappear, came rushing back, each one now evidence stacked against him. What looked like the perfect system trucks moving, forklifts loading, business as usual had always been leaving a trail, and in the end, it led straight back to him,